Michael, George, we went over the rules in the dressing room. Obey my commands at all times. Give me a good, clean fight. And bear one thing in mind. I'm the boss man in here. Take hands, good luck.
Combination by Moore to start the action. Moore coming forward and actually has Foreman going back. We expected to see George try to start faster than he did in his fight against Tommy Morrison and perhaps go a little bit more for broke in this bout. Foreman very calm, one of the most relaxed fighters you will ever see in boxing.
I gotta tell you though, Rich, it looks like he's put on 10, 15 pounds since the weigh-in. George does not look, you know, remember they weighed in 2 days early for this fight. They weighed in on Thursday afternoon. It's been more than 48 hours since the weigh-in.
Maybe George figured he was going to get in great shape right up until the weigh-in. Now we will see as Moore is trying to stay close. He's not using a lot of lateral movement here. He's staying within punching range of Foreman. And it would be interesting to see if Foreman tries to use the push-it-off technique that he's been successful with in the past.
Well, at the moment, Foreman is not fighting cross-armed like he normally does. He's fighting from, I wouldn't even call it a peekaboo stance. It's just a traditional boxing stance. He doesn't have his arms crossed. Moore is establishing the jab, and as you said, fighting on the inside, looking just to double up on that jab and then come in with that great left of his.
This is perhaps the first surprise that Foreman has not come out real fast here in round number 1. And Moore right in front of him, where hardly anybody expected him to be.
Well, surprisingly enough, too, Moore only has a 1-inch reach deficiency in this. George has had very little reach. He's got the big weight advantage, 2-inch height. George looks very tentative and very slow.
Trying to keep Moore away. They're just using his arms as a defensive tool. Now Foreman snaps the jab out. There's the first right hand by Foreman. It followed a left jab. Crowd roars. To little effect, though. Moore has been knocked down 4 times in his career, but has always gotten up and always won.
Those knockdowns coming from Everett Martin, Bert Cooper, and of course the last time against Evander Holyfield for a knockdown that judged tonight. Jerry Roth, who judged that fight, only got to see that round as a 10-10 round in spite of the fact that Moore was on the floor.
There's again the left-right combination by Foreman, but that right hand going in fairly slowly, and he still reaches Moore. George's punch is very slow so far. Bell ends round 1. George Foreman, as usual, not bothering to sit on a stool between rounds. Moore was told by Teddy Atlas to move a little, not stay within punching range of Foreman.
Interestingly enough, he's saying you're in range of George's hands. Don't be in so close. He got caught with that one right hand lead that Foreman threw, the only punch of really effectiveness that Foreman was able to land with in the first round.
Moore getting that jab to work some now here at the start of round number 2, and Foreman trying to answer with the same.
And showing some motion now.
Obey the commands of Teddy Atlas, whom he has a lot of belief in and a lot of respect for. He went through trainers before. He was trained by Emmanuel Stewart for a long time, left Stewart, now Foreman with a right hand, was trained briefly by the Duva-George Benton combination, and a left jab by Foreman now.
Went through some real changes during that period of time. George starting to find the range now.
Foreman not expending a lot of energy.
And in the second coming of George, he hasn't been notoriously fast in the first rounds. If you remember the first round even of the Jerry Cooney fight.
Right, he was hurt in that fight. In fact, he wobbled near the end of that first round, but came back to finish off Cooney in the second round.
Remember, George has only been knocked out once in his entire career. A fellow by the name of Ali.
Foreman turned pro back in 1969. Michael Moore was 1.5 years old on the night that George Foreman turned professional. Now Moore coming on, getting his jab home and following it up with a left cross. Moore working the jab, fighting carefully. moving a little bit, sliding some. Here's that jab again from Moore.
See, George is eating a lot of jabs, though, Rich, and he's going to get puffed up. He's got that habit now where that face gets puffy like it did in the Alex Stewart fight, did in the Tommy Morrison fight. And he was lucky they were looking to stop the Stewart fight. Angelo saved that fight for him. I'm convinced of that. We pushed the referee away and said, go look at the other guy.
Moore fighting very effectively now, utilizing the jab. There it is again, doubling up on it. Uppercut by Moore, in close.
The only thing I don't like about what Moore is doing
Good right
now,
hand by Foreman, knocks Moore back a step or two. George's most effective punch so far, and here comes Moore answering back quickly.
and I was about to say, Rich, I don't like the fact that Moore was only circling in one direction, and George is just going to time him, and there it was.
Final seconds of round two. Pretty good action round from these two heavyweights.
Darius, one of two ranking German world champions right now, the other being Henry Maska. And George seemed to start to find the range in the second round. And I've mentioned, the only thing I don't like about what Moore is doing, his jab is very effective and is going to work George's eye, but he keeps circling in only one direction.
Both fighters had their moments in that second round. Who'd you give that second round to?
I still thought Moore won the round, but I thought George was coming on quite well and landed some good shots. It was a close round to call, though.
Foreman walking forward. Teddy Atlas has talked a lot to Moore and a lot of psychology before this fight about what Foreman was going to try to do to him, how he was going to try to con him, how he's going to try to get him to submit and break his will. Two good jabs by Foreman, but the follow-up right was not there.
Landed a good right-hand lead on Moore then.
We have not seen the crossover stance from George Foreman.
Nor the traditional push-off. He didn't move in on that second jab either, which is why he missed with the right. If you're going to double, good right hand by Moore. If you're going to double up on the jab, you got to move in on the second one if you're going to land with the right.
Moore picking up some momentum now, avoiding the punches of Foreman and coming forward and landing. And there he landed a good right hand to the belly.
I've got to think at this point that Foreman's got Moore outweighed by probably 28 pounds at the weigh-in. I would say it's closer to 40 pounds right now.
It is amazing, but it does look like George wasn't turning down any burgers in the last 2 days. There's a good cracking right hand from George Foreman, but Moore, sharp right hand.
And Teddy Atlas very nervous that Moore is fighting in this close, Rich.
Again, the combination from Foreman, but Moore always answers right back. There's a good right by Moore.
George is hurt and holds on for the first time in the fight. He better not underestimate that right hand of Moore, because Moore is a natural right-hander who converted over to fight lefty.
Plenty for the crowd to cheer about so far for both fighters. Foreman wild with the right hand. Just gets out of the way of a right from Moore.
Big article in one of the New York papers that was prophesizing that George was going to try a rope-a-dope type of situation here with Moore, and nothing could be further from the truth. But he's not even fighting a typical George style at this point, and a good body shot by Moore.
Now the fight has been fought at ring center. Foreman now trying to keep Moore away with the jab. Just push from there, he follows up with the right hand. Moore answers back. Moore doing a great job of every time Foreman lands something significant, Moore comes back with 2 or 3 of his own.
And George starting to puff up already. Big welt under the left eye.
Good jabs. Now combination by Moore drives Foreman back into the ropes. Rally by Moore to close out the round.
Well, we take a look at the replay here, and it's George landing the one right that he landed throughout the fight. Excuse me, throughout the round. Moore with his straight right. Interestingly enough, Teddy Atlas said, and not to toot my own horn, but he said, I want you moving in the other direction. He says, you're moving too much to your right.
That was a pretty big third round, though, for Michael Moore. And Teddy Atlas not really having to do any coaxing to get Michael Moore to fight in this fight the way that he did against Holyfield.
He's telling him, pick up the pace. You don't have to go slow because George is going slow. And he said to him point blank, he wouldn't even last as a sparring partner in camp. Teddy feeling very confident at this point. Moore, though, continues only to move.
Not easy to jab a left-hander. He's got that glove right out in front of you.
Well,
there's the right hand from Foreman. Interestingly enough, in watching the tape of the first of the Holyfield-Moore fight, Foreman was a commentator and said that he thought that a crossover style and a squared-up style would be very successful against Moore, but he hasn't used the crossover.
And yet he's not using it. He's not throwing enough right-hand leads, and I don't think he's had enough experience. He's only fought one left-hander in his entire career, as we mentioned before, Bobby Crabtree back in '87. We know that the only left-hander in Foreman's camp was a fighter by the name of Matthew Brooks, who's really a blown-up light heavyweight.
Left hook to the body by
George
Foreman.
has nothing, Rich. No timing, very slow, very sluggish.
Now, did you think he'd be a little sharper than this? But he hasn't fought for 17 months, but he comes there with a combination.
I expected a little bit more possibly in the early rounds. I expected a little bit more aggression from George. I expected the cross-arm style, and I expected him to be moving forward.
Trying to come up the middle with that right uppercut. That's the punch that Angelo Dundee said would be successful with Moore. He felt that coming up the middle with uppercuts, and Foreman does come up the middle well, would be successful in this fight.
Well, Michael's certainly in close enough for George to try to attempt to throw that. He doesn't want to throw it from the outside. We saw what happened to Buster Douglas when he did that against Evander Holyfield. He's in tight enough. Moore has given him the target. Moore is there for him. I expected Moore to be fighting much more on the outside, personally. I thought he'd be jabbing. He's much more aggressive in this fight than he was against Evander Holyfield.
Moore appears supremely confident.
And
He's willing to stand right there in front of George Foreman. Foreman, they're trying to push Moore off. Comes in and grabs momentarily. An unusual tactic for George. A nod of respect by Moore to Foreman at the end of the round. Joe Cortez, the referee, yelling to Teddy Atlas, get out of the ring. Here's the bell to start round number 5.
Look at the snarl on George's face. It's sort of like, okay, I don't know if that's, whoa!
Nice jab by Moore. Almost leaped in with it, but he really snapped it. Another good jab by Michael Moore. Really putting that jab to work. Foreman's going to have to answer with something because Moore is actually walking through the punches of George Foreman.
Or the lack of them.
Moore's punches are landing cleanly.
He's got to be...
Good body shot from Foreman.
But he's probably out punching George at this point 10-1, and he's landing an enormous amount of his shots.
George trying to outstrength Moore here now.
You just wonder, though, to a certain point, there's this part of me that has to say, is George suckering him in and giving him a false sense of security, and he's just going to land one big bomb somewhere in there, which he never expected Moore to be fighting in this close.
Foreman looked rusty with that exchange. Moore's reflexes, those of a 26-year-old man, remember. No matter what the weights, the records, and personalities, well, any numbers do not measure reflexes.
Probably the biggest unknown factor is what this 18-month layoff was going to do. And at 40, almost 46 years of age, unless he's saving something, Rich, there's nothing there.
The key words there, of course, was active part of his career because he did have that 10-year layoff when he went into the ministry from 1977 through 87. Stayed out of boxing, ballooned up to 320, 350 pounds. There's a good left hand by Foreman. And now Foreman coming forward and moving Moore back a little.
Good right hand lead he landed on Moore's face there.
Foreman having some success here and getting the crowd interested again. We're in round 5 now. Foreman doing a little bit better work. Now Moore coming back at the end of the round, landing a stiff jab as the round comes to an end. A little bit better round for George Foreman, but might not be enough to win the fight for him. Angelo Dundee talking briefly in the corner to George Foreman, and now he turns to Charlie Shipes for a few words of advice. In this round, Arnie, Foreman was able to get Moore at least to move back on a couple of occasions with right hand.
Well, every once in a while the jab would come to alive, and then he would be able to also land it a couple of times with the right hand lead, which is the punch that he needs to throw. He's ignoring just the basics on how you fight a left-handed fighter. He just thought he was going to out-muscle this young kid. Michael started throwing his own left-hand leads of his own that were landing very well on George.
Many of us felt that Moore would try to emulate to some degree what Tommy Morrison did, which was to use some lateral movement, box, move around the ring, but that has not been the case tonight.
I would have guaranteed it, Rich. This fight is not the picture that you would have painted in advance.
Moore right in front of Foreman, snaking him with the jab. Again.
See, George doesn't move in, though, on the second. He doubled up on the jab, but he's not moving in on the second jab, so he can't land the right effectively.
He did land a right uppercut in close, but Moore taking all the punches that Foreman has thrown and landed tonight very well. Has not been rattled yet. There's a good right hand from George Foreman. But again, Moore answers right back. Moore hardly allows the Foreman fans here to get the cheers out of their collective mouth before he answers back.
Yeah, I mean, very partisan Foreman crowd, but a lot of respect at this point coming over to Mora.
Good jab again from Moore. And again, boy, that's nice work with that right hand from Moore. Foreman still dangerous.
Two
lands a right
hand.
hand. George ran into an uppercut, though, on the way in and trying to follow up.
Mora took two really good right-hand leads from Foreman and came back and was able to fire on his own.
George trying to follow up. But Moore very dangerous in front of him. Moore felt those punches. Right hand from Foreman again, partially blocked by Moore.
You got a question at this point, is Foreman's punch totally gone, or does Michael Mora have a better chin than we all gave him credit for?
Now here comes Moore back, crowd roaring.
And I got to say, considering that Mora was dropped by Holyfield, who's considered a light puncher, and Bigfoot Martin, you got to think that George's punch has finally left him at almost 46 years of age, Rich.
Right hand by Moore over the outstretched arm of Foreman. Now Moore goes back to the jab, which was effective for him early in the round. Again, the right hand from Foreman. He's landed numerous times in this round with a right hand. Much more encouraging showing by Foreman in this round. Oh, but a hard, snapping left hand from Michael Moore. And Foreman again will stand in his corner, but the crowd, many of them standing here and cheering.
And once you're in, work. Once you're in, work.
Arnie, as they get ready to begin round 7, do you think there should be any concern in the Moore corner that he was tagged with so many rights in that round?
Absolutely. And what we didn't pick up on our scene, but I heard through the side, was that Teddy's telling him, got to do more once you get inside. Don't let George get off, and give him two different motions. Don't keep walking in the same direction. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does what Teddy told him, or Michael's going to continue on in close.
Now Moore again with that stiff jab, and battle of the chants from the two camps here. We hear a George chant now being drowned out by a Michael chant.
See, George trying to pick off that jab and catch it with his left hand and follow with the right, instead of just coming up with his own right hand lead. And Moore is going right around his hand, and it's not doing anything for him.
There again, beaten to the punch by Michael Moore. Good right to the belly by George Foreman. There's a nice combination from Foreman.
And that was coming off a fight that many people thought he had lost Alex Stewart just prior to that.
Foreman missing. Started to use the old pushing strategy.
But what's happening is once he's getting in on the inside, he's not doing anything. He's not using his weight advantage or his strength to try to muscle Mora down. Even leaning on him would be something at this point.
And consequently, referee Joe Cortez has had very little to do in this fight so far. Only been a couple of clinches. Leaping in with the right hand, but Foreman got his head in front of it.
And he's able to leap in and leap out before George can react. George has absolutely no ability right now to react to Mora when Mora comes on the inside.
And now you see the left eye of Foreman beginning to get pretty puffy underneath. He's eaten a lot of jabs on that side of the face. Showing some lateral movement. Foreman chasing him. Michael Moore in command as the 7th round comes to a conclusion.
And Rich virtually pitching a shutout at this point.
You slowed it down a little bit.
At will would be probably even a better description.
Seemingly had the effect tonight on Moore that he did on Evander Holyfield in 2 or 3 of those rounds of their fight 3 years ago.
And again, Mora not known at heavyweight necessarily for his chin being dropped by the likes of Bigfoot Martin, Bert Cooper, Evander Holyfield. It has to make you wonder, is it that all of a sudden Michael's got a great chin, or has George finally lost that famous punch?
George is going to have to get to work because he's got less than 5 rounds to go now. And he possibly already is in a position of needing some real drama. There's a right hand that forced Moore to give ground. He backs Moore into the ropes. Now wait to see if Moore here answers back. Good right uppercut from Foreman. Now Moore slaps his gloves together, and we've got some combat going on now.
Not what I would want Moore to be doing if I was Teddy Atlas right now. You took his shot, get out of there. Don't start trading with George Foreman in close while you're hurt. George is one of the great finishers.
Saw Moore give ground, and he backed into the ropes, and then Foreman was able to also come up with an uppercut.
Whoa!
Foreman wobbled across the ring. Looked like he tripped a little, though. I don't think he's hurt.
You know, a lot of what George has said about letting fighters off the hook and younger fighters off the hook is that he doesn't have necessarily the ability anymore to finish a fighter. He should have been all over Michael Moore then. Throwing 3, 4, 5-punch combination.
George Foreman, in his prime, perhaps possessor of the most terrifying punch in heavyweight history.
Lifted Joe Frazier off the ground.
Good combination from Moore. Remember the 7th round of the Holyfield fight when Foreman was hurt badly at the end of that round. He had enjoyed a big opening portion of the round. So this perhaps might go according to that script, although Moore has not yet hurt Foreman badly in this round.
And in my opinion, George didn't take 1/10 of the punishment in the Holyfield fight that he's taken to this point.
Now Moore appears to have things back in control once again.
And stealing the round back from George. George has got to let that right go. He's there. Moore is there for him to throw to right.
Big exchange, combination from Moore. Round 8 comes to a close.
I don't want you laying in front where you can be effective with the uppercut or the right hand. Move to your right and get that jab working.
All right, Arnie, let's take a look at some of the work in that round. Look at that uppercut from Michael Moore.
Moore is getting inside. George has no reaction time whatsoever. He's taking some good shots from Michael Moore. Teddy Atlas, though, begging Moore, move to your right. Stay away from George's right hand, and the only way you can do that is by moving to your right. He doesn't want to get lulled in and get clocked like he did earlier in round number 8.
Now Foreman had his best opportunity. It appeared in the first minute of that round. He drove Moore back into the ropes, landed 2 or 3 right hands in succession.
Building up a nice lead here. Don't get careless and move to your right and stay away from George's right hand. And so far, he's listening to Teddy.
Good right hand by Moore, and follows it up with an uppercut. Michael Moore, obviously, through the years, as he's come up to the heavyweight, has continued to develop as a fighter. And so that has enabled him to reach this lofty plateau where he now sits.
On a skill level, you got to say he improved 200%. He didn't have a devastating jab as a light heavyweight. He was just able to go out there and take guys out with brute power. And when he was in with good skilled boxers, the Leslie Stewarts of the world, even Frankie Swindell, gave him a hard time as a light heavyweight. But he was able to get by with the punching power.
Foreman here in round 9 has yet to land an effective blow through the first minute and a half. There's a jab from George.
Now he's got a little bit of what, if you would have tried to choreograph the fight in advance, this is a little bit more of what you expected. He's got George chasing him. He's moving to his right. He's using the jab. He's not going in and trading with George as he had done in the earlier rounds, Richard.
Foreman almost squared right up to him. You know, in addition to all the skills that we just talked about him developing, obviously his confidence has been built to the point where he's supremely confident when he enters a ring.
Well, at this point, he beat Evander Holyfield at heavyweight. He's gotten up off the floor from heavyweight punches. He's got greatly developed boxing skills, and I don't think we can measure at this point how much Teddy Atlas has had an effect on Michael Moore also as a fighter on the confidence level and taking him out from this dark, brooding figure to make him feel good about himself.
Remains a great mystery to many boxing fans. He probably has a lower profile than any heavyweight champion that I can recall. Right hand to the body by Foreman as the round comes to an end, but Foreman didn't do much in that round, and he may not have much left in the tank. He kind of stumbled, in fact, to his corner.
You got to put this guy down. We're behind, baby.
But at almost 46 years of age, I'm not sure Angelo can kickstart George Foreman here in the 10th round, Rich.
Well, Dundee, you could read his lips there saying you've got to knock him down. You're behind, baby.
Well, how about behind 9 rounds to 0? It's going to take more than a knockdown to put him back in this fight, at least on my unofficial scorecard.
Well, so you might be able to make a argument for George for 1 round there, or 2 perhaps, but where they were fairly close. But obviously he is well behind, and he's got to pick it up. Angelo Dundee, of course, was in a similar situation with Muhammad Ali against Larry Holmes, a guy well past his prime, taking on a champion in his prime. And Ali got into cosmetic, beautiful shape. Everybody saw Ali, and they all went running to the betting windows to bet on him, driving the odds down, much the way that the odds were driven down on this fight when they saw Foreman look in reasonable shape. And now George, following the advice of Angelo Dundee, has come out here strong in round number 10. Looking to land that right. There's a left hook that he finally landed tonight. You know, that's a tremendous punch for George when he can land it, but it hasn't been there for him.
Very tough punch, though, to land against the southpaw, Rich. And that takes a big part of George's arsenal away, but at his age, did he really take the time, though, to work on something else that would work against the southpaw as some other challenger might do? He just figured it's another fighter, left-handed, right-handed, this is the way I fight. And like you said,
there's the left hook from Foreman. That one rattled Moore a little bit. And another punch from Foreman and another left hook. And Moore's leg actually slipped out from underneath him. So again, I think Moore has felt the power of Foreman, what power is left even in round 10 of a fight in which he is desperately behind. And Teddy Atlas concerned in the corner.
Well, another reason that the left hook is landing is Teddy said to Michael, move all the time to your right now and stay away from the right hand. So George had to adapt, and there he goes. He's walking into the left hook.
George Foreman enjoying his best round of the fight here in round 10. There's a right hand. Down goes Moore. He's flat on his back. He may not get up.
Maybe he's not moving.
Moore could be about to lose the heavyweight title.
I don't believe this.
Joe Cortez pulls off the count. It is over.
Holy
and George Foreman has pulled off the miracle that no one thought possible. George Foreman
Moore is
done
still down. Moore cannot get up. He's still down. He doesn't know where he is. He's bleeding. bleeding from the nose. He walked into a picture-perfect left-right combination.
And unbelievable, a stunning finish.
Listen to this crowd
of a heavyweight championship fight that has left this MGM Grand crowd of nearly 15,000 in total disbelief. George Foreman was picking up steam from the moment that 10th round began, Arnie, and he never let up.
Angelo Dundee said to him between rounds, you gotta do something, kid, you're behind on points. We talked about whether he would have the motivational problem. Mora kept moving to his right. Teddy Atlas said, move only to your right, stay out of the way of the right hand. Foreman started landing that left hook, landed a picture-perfect left-right. Somebody's fainted in the ring. You've got a man who's gonna be, when he defends the title for the first time, 46 years of age, Rich.
There's George Foreman. Here's the announcement now from Michael Buffer.
The MGM Grand, the impossible dream has happened. Heavyweight history has happened. Referee Joe Cortez reaches the count of 10. At 2 minutes, 3 seconds of round number 10, the winner, and once again, heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman.
Incredible, startling, stunning moments in the history of sport.